Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to be talking a little bit more about Bel'Veth, supposedly our newest champion to be added to the game. Now, for those of you who are wondering where the official announcement is, well, there isn't one quite yet. This is essentially a leak that has come out, and before I get too much into it, I want to talk a little bit more about my general policy towards leaks. Primarily, my stance on leaks is that they are not real until an official source states that they are. I can't count the number of times that people have supposedly leaked something that was going to be coming to League of Legends, only for it to never actually materialize. I think the biggest example of this is Nayuta the Thunder Monk, who was supposedly going to be a champion coming out. I believe it was supposed to be Set, who ended up not actually happening. So it's one of those things that I really want to make sure you guys know that I am assuming none of this is correct until I actually have Riot's reveal. This leak does seem to have some degree of promise, as the leaker has shown the character design, and it's very similar to the very small snippet of splash art that we got alongside the new champion roadmap. So while this does look to be legitimate, I would say you guys should obviously use your own judgment when evaluating this. If you guys don't want to see what the new character looks like, do not go into the description where I have a link to the video where the character is supposedly revealed, and generally keep in mind that none of this may be correct. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about Bel'Veth, which is supposedly her name. Now, Bel'Veth is an interesting name because it is very similar to the Shuriman name Bel'Zun, which is one of the major Shuriman cities, which maybe there's no connection there necessarily, especially given that the area in which this character appears to be potentially coming out of the void is in Zolan, which is the stone carvers village where they were attempting to fix the statue of one of the previous ascended women who were carved into the side of a mountain face. There's a lot of stuff in some of the stories to indicate that this may be the case. Rek'Sai and her brood basically digging a straight tunnel all the way to this village, Zolan, which we know was obliterated when the Void essentially popped up and murdered all of the stone carvers that were there. Talia and Kaisa were both investigating this in the new video, or the not Awaken, it's the new one. I can't remember the name of the song now, but either way, in the new season start video, that's where they are. And there's a lot to indicate that this character has some sort of connection to Zolan, and maybe actually, coming out of Zolan. Now, generally, we don't know too much about the character herself. We know that she is supposedly an emperor. We know that there is sort of a reference to the Lavender Sea, which is potentially just Shurima in general, or the Void in general, I should say. And in general, there's a lot of stuff. There's not much more we know about that. We know she's a brood mother of some sort, so she's going to be potentially spawning sort of smaller allies to help her out. We know she's going to have some degree of damage to structures. Riot are usually pretty good at giving us hints at what the character mechanically does in each of their champion roadmaps, and besides that, we don't know too much else. I do know the leaked video talks about the new character's ultimate being called Devour, which cannot be correct because that is the name of Tahm Kench's ultimate, and Riot never share ability names if they can help it, so I actually don't find that to be very likely. But either way, I think that this character does have some potentially interesting implications for not only the current ongoing story arcs of League of Legends, but also with regards to potential gameplay and giving us sort of another broodmother character who may actually feel like a broodmother. Obviously, Rek'Sai is a broodmother type character, but she doesn't actually do any of that in-game, so having a sort of minion mancer from the Void would actually be pretty cool. And no, I guess Malzahar already exists, but I don't know. This feels like it could be a little bit different. The biggest concern I have, if this leak is correct, is the design is really not good. I think it's okay, actually. I do like the fact that this character looks like a woman wearing a big cloak, up until the point where she spreads her wings and you realize she's actually got the body of essentially a manta ray. That's a pretty cool aspect of the character, and I do quite like that. However, I also feel like the character did not actually have to be... It did not have to have a stereotypically human face. I feel like that was a complete mistake, and I don't feel like there was any reason for Riot to actually do this, short of potential story aspects that could change my opinion on this. I think that there are only two situations in which this character's design makes sense and sort of work for me, and sort of are a little bit more acceptable for me in particular. The first is that this character was a human who essentially was either sucked into the Void or corrupted by the Void or something along those lines, right? Similar to Kaisa, I guess, but maybe went all the way to the Screaming Eldritch dimension as opposed to just the sort of underground area where the Void, or a lot of Voidborn dwell. and essentially over time slowly found herself corrupted more and more until eventually she transforms into a essentially fully fledged Voidborn. That would be really cool, and that's the kind of thing that the design so far seems to be looking at, because the leaker has said essentially this character, after casting the ultimate for the first time, transforms into a very inhuman form. If that's the case, I'm totally down with this. The other situation in which this is okay is if the character is a true Voidborn, but essentially only adopts a human persona in order to lure more humans into either worshipping her or worshipping the void, or that sort of a thing. Again, that sort of thing is totally fine by me. If essentially she's like, yeah, I'm hiding my total Eldritch persona because, you know, humans don't react very well to that. I know this sort of edges into the territory of Evelyn and Elise, both which adapt more humanoid forms in order to lure people in. So maybe Riot don't go that full 9 yards, but either way, it would still be, I think, an acceptable explanation for why the character looks the way she does. I'm really hoping that what this character is that she isn't a Voidborn who just looks like that, and then happens to be like, yeah, okay, later I'll turn into, you know, a more Eldritch dimension. Like, no, that doesn't make any sense to me. That can't be her default appearance. That can't be like, oh yeah, the Voidborn looks like that, but then she upgrades later and chooses to not look human anymore. No, she can't have looked human in the first place. That would be really disappointing. I also don't know why Riot felt the need to give us another very human-like champion. The Void is sort of the last bastion of monster champions in the game, and for them to essentially say, hey, we're going to create this character from the Void, and she's going to be extremely humanoid, is... I disapprove of it immensely. And I feel like if this had been a male character, that they wouldn't have had even remotely human features, right? I think that's the biggest problem I have. So... but we'll see what Riot end up deciding that they want to do. I personally disagree with a lot of the character design, but there are some things about it that I think could be okay. So we'll see what ends up being the truth at the end of the day. So either way, you guys will have to let me know what you think of the new character design down in the comment section below. If you think this is legit, or if you think that there's potentially something else going on, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave it a like, and if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all later.